How you doing? How you doing?
I am well. How about yourself?
I'm well.
That's a fantastic background you have there. Let's get into that in a second. Let me introduce you to our audience
Okay.
and then we dive right in. So we have Arashma Park here, who is a basketball player for the Temple Owls, who's been getting some pretty decent game time lately. And it's exciting to follow along with your career. You have been at Phelps School in Melbourne. You've been with the Commonwealth Academy, and now with Temple. Is it your fourth season now?
This is my fourth year. I'm a senior now.
Fourth year at Temple. And before we get started, I also want to make sure that in terms of name, image, and likeness, Arashma has his experience store set up on the SPRTER app. So anyone who's looking for some unique experiences with him, check out the SPRTER experience store on the app. There are some pretty awesome aspects there that he's offering to a really behind the scenes access. So check it out there, but let's dive in. Welcome to the SPRTER Podcast, and talk me through to how did it all begin? Where did you develop your passion for basketball?
Uh, Really, eighth grade. I always played football. I started off with football. I was raised in a basketball household. My father played football, so as a kid, the number one thing you want to do is impress your father because you know you're always up under somebody you look up to. So I started off with football up until like eighth grade, and then like it was time to realize like which sport I really want to focus on going into high school. So, you know, it was like I didn't think it was a big thing at the time, but, you know, I had to sit down with my family. I had to sit down with coaches, mentors, and all that, and really come out to them and say, what do I want to do? Do I want to pursue basketball or do I want to play football? Because I had to get a scholarship in either sport. So after long talks, my brother, my mom, everybody, I decided to play basketball. And as soon as the words of me wanting to play basketball came out of my mouth, we just hit the ground running. Within like weeks, I got in contact with different prep schools. That's how Commonwealth came into play. AAU programs, elite AAU programs, PSA Cardinals and stuff like that. Yeah, and there since then.
So you've always been athletic. That's what I'm gathering here,
Always
right?
been an athlete. Always been an athlete. Yeah.
And once you made that decision, I was like, oh, look, I'm going to focus on basketball. When did you realize, you know what? It looks like I'm going to get a scholarship. I'm actually really, really good at this. Is there some moment, you know, sometimes people have that, holy crap, I'm actually good.
I feel like I'm my biggest critic, so I never felt like that I'm really like I've reached that point where I'm like really good. But when I first started off, I wasn't like the most skilled player, but I was a hard worker. So once I kept doing like the little things and stuff like that, and then people telling me, yo, like you doing something like everybody else not doing, and like that could take you a long way. I guess that's when, you know, more offers started to come in and stuff like that, and I'm like, maybe I am good at it. And then as the years went by, then that's when some skill came into play, developing a post hug or, you know, a little 15-footer or something like that, you know, and then it was just from there went further and further.
All right. And I'm sure you've had other offers from, you know, from colleges around the nation, probably. Now, how did you decide, you know what, Temple is the right place?
Um, Throughout my career, I dealt with injuries a lot, you know, not shy to injuries. So at high school, it kind of ramped up. When I first started off, you know, schools text me every day. Recruiting process was really well until I believe it was I had a shin injury, and like me being on the court was like I was playing fewer and fewer games, so school stopped hitting me up. But Temple was one school that was always checking in on me every day. Came to the most games, you know. We had sometimes we wouldn't even talk about basketball. We just talk about life and stuff like that. And they asked me if I ate today or I should invest in a journal and talk about all my feelings. It's just little stuff like that. And I was like, okay, these guys really care about me.
So that's an interesting one, as in it's much more than just a player. They wanted a person. Is that what I'm hearing?
Right, yeah.
And that's really cool to hear that they're doing a good job. So in that regards, now you've been in Philly for 4 years now. What is your favorite place outside the court? And outside, let's assume we make Justin Miller really happy and we say the Resnick Center. But let's besides the Resnick Center, besides Campbell Campus, besides all of the classes, what's your favorite spot in the city?
Favorite spot? That's a tough question. I'm really like a homebody, you know. I'm not sure. I don't think I have a favorite spot, but I just like walk around the city and just taking it all in as a whole. From like the water to the lights and, you know, different restaurants in the city. Bowling, sometimes I go bowling, stuff like that. I can't say, I just can't pinpoint one favorite, you know.
So it's a lot of what the big city has to offer. It's the complete package, so to speak. Yeah. Okay. When you bowl, are you competitive?
Oh yeah. My family, yeah, that's something we do take serious. So I'm always competitive in bowling.
All right. I think that's one of those things when you get a professional athlete or, you know, athletes at a really high level, you get them to do anything, they are going to be competitive at it. So, and you mentioned your work ethic early on, right? That comes along with that competition. Like, yeah, I want to win.
Right.
So I want to transition into something that we get some submissions when we say, hey, we have an athlete on a show. We get submissions from our followers saying, hey, I want to know something about. So we have this pro advice segment. The first submission asks us, I'm also a college athlete who wants to profit of their name, image, and likeness. What are some ways you've profited since the change of the law? And it can be monetary, non-monetary, anything that goes. Like what has changed for you since name, image, and likeness started?
A lot, actually. Besides money, I would say experience. My major is advertising. So I'm really creative with stuff like that. Just creating like a video or making a poster or something like that. That NIL has helped me, you know, express that field with my creativity or something like that. So a lot of the stuff that I post is something I made, or if they make it, I have a say so on what's being posted, stuff like that, you know. So I guess just furthering my experience. Also with just like the business side of it, there's a lot of contracts, meetings, and things you got to get cleared, stuff I didn't have knowledge of before the whole laws and stuff changed. So yeah, just preparing me, I guess, for the real world, as they say, the real world.
Okay. I want to tag on to another question before we get to the second question. I want to tag on what you just mentioned in terms of your major's advertisement. And you promoting AP, right, on your, that's your, I don't want to say alter ego, but that's your creative outlet.
Yeah, AP original, yeah.
So this is you got some really dope content on there, as in now that makes sense when you say your major is advertisement, you're getting into the content creation. Now, where does that fit in? As in, you know, you have the basketball player, but you have also the content creator, and how do you balance those two?
I don't know. That's another good question. I guess just like the whole AP original is just something like when I don't want to think about basketball or like anxiety's high or where like you're just worried about different stuff, I could just jump to that side and just release frustrations and stuff like that and just make good work out of it or turn, you know, it's just hard to explain. It's just something I could just, my comfort zone and stuff like that.
That's what they say about artists when they start painting or they're getting into their art,
Yeah,
there you lose everything around you. Like you're really in the zone, in the flow, right? So
that's exactly what it is.
and we see that a lot with athletes when they're in the flow on the court or in the running. Like when I'm getting antsy and frustrated, I need to go for a run, and
Right.
then my head clears and I'm like, well, why was I annoyed? But obviously you have that is part of your profession, right? You got your training that much. So for you, it seems like that creative outlet gets you in that flow. And obviously it being creative and helping you with learning for business, that's a great combination there.
Yeah, right. It
So
all,
sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead. I was gonna say it all works together in the long run.
Yeah. Have other athletes, have other people from the basketball team, I saw Sage early on is like, yo, have other people been like, yo, can you create some cool, dope content for me as well? Can you edit my video here?
That's funny because Damian Dunn, the guard on our team, he had a homework assignment in like I think a couple of days, and he was stressing about it. And he was like, to me, it was a simple assignment, but to him, he was just like, yo, I got to put a voiceover in this video. I got to clip these. I got to add this. I got to this. I'm like, yo, I can like, it's 5 seconds of work. Like, it's not like minutes of it. It's nothing crazy. So, yeah, I do little stuff like that for them all the time.
That's nice to support the team off the court as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we're looking at the athlete, right? You mentioned earlier on, hey, sometimes there's frustration. Sometimes there is, hey, the coach isn't playing us, or sometimes it's just something doesn't go our way, right? So you say creative outlet is one way to deal with it, but how do you balance that? And how do you look at, you know what, I'm overcoming this. I don't feel well today. What is your coping strategy to get over that lump?
Um, when everything's just like, adversity is at like an all-time high, I really just like take a step back and like, it may sound like corny or whatever, but I really just like close my eyes and just breathe. Like we have a team therapist and we meet with her like every week, either Mondays or Fridays, and like she just talks about how breathing is just such an like important thing to just calm everything down. And then besides, if I'm not doing that, and I just feel like I just got to talk to somebody, I just call my mom or my brother or my sister, and I just tell them all my frustrations, and then they try to help me as best as they can, and we just go from there.
So family support and then the breathing exercise. I think that's what they say a lot with breathe.
Yeah,
Breathe in and let it go.
right.
And that works for you?
Yeah, but they actually do. They actually, before as I feel like it's something you realize is helpful as you get older. As a kid, like freshman year, somebody just told me just breathe out, look at you like, I got real problems. But now, like breathing actually just like really calms everything down. It helps you think better and all that. So, yeah.
And that's a really good point when you say, hey, as a freshman, you look back, Arashma, 3 years ago to you now, or 4 years ago, right? To you now. What has changed for you over those 4 years of college?
So much, and like it's just growth, life lessons, experiences. I have to catch myself like today, saying, "Man, if I knew half the stuff I knew now back then, I'd probably be, I don't even know, just in a better off somewhere doing something better, or just like just I don't know, just a better person." I realize that listening is key, even when you don't want to, because it's always valuable information when somebody speaks. Um, it's just growth, just learning a lot. Man, I feel like I'm much more mature now than I
So
was.
the maturity, I guess, on and off the court, because you're
Yeah,
saying more mature, and also I'm a different person. So obviously you'd be a better basketball player
but
now,
yeah,
but also that maturity level in terms of life experience. That's one of the things. Now, have you had an opportunity? Obviously, you travel a lot with the team, right? You guys are on the road like, I mean, during the season, you're pretty much, it seems like you're on the road all the time. What is some of the best away travels that you've done with the team?
Best? Are you just talking about this year or just like overall?
Overall.
Overall, the best trip has been when we went overseas, not overseas, but the Bahamas. That was
Sounds like overseas.
that was a fun trip. And then I guess every time we go to like Florida, it's always just like the air is different down there and just the warm weather, especially during like because we play in the winter, so we go somewhere hot and just seeing palm trees and stuff like that. It's just like a breath of fresh air.
And that's nice. Now, obviously, the coach doesn't want you, or they don't want you guys out at like after a game winning it. You know, you win against Central Florida, or you win against in Florida. You're like, all right, let's go out. But I mean, down there, it's like you kind of like, you know, just
Yeah,
it's still like being out
right.
and with the team. That's something that. How's that experience in terms of the team bonding when you are on all of these away games, and what's that travel contribute to that?
Um, After a win, yeah, the idea of celebrating comes up to mind, but we just know like we have a we have a goal, and if we want to achieve that goal, we just gotta sacrifice some things. So at most, we'll probably sit outside, sit by the pool, talk about the game, da da da. And if we really want to celebrate, we just probably just wait till we get back to Philly, where it's like we're somewhere we know, safe environment, not safe environment, but it's like somewhere where you're familiar with and all that. You never know what can happen on the road.
Yeah, that's true. I've heard some teams getting in trouble when
Right.
they're out and about.
Trying to
Um,
trying to win games and keep a cool head.
yeah. Now the Bahamas. Walk me through that trip. This sounds awesome.
I guess like every 3 years, a college team can travel overseas or something like that. So I guess I want to say 2 summers ago or no, yeah, 2 summers ago we went. We were out there for like I want to say a week, if I'm not mistaken,
Mm-hmm.
4 days, 5 days, something like that. That was just like I'm just like just on and up the court, shooting the clear water. Um, the bonding was amazing. Um, on the court, we played a different types of players. The game style, the rules are different. So it was dope to experience that. We were playing older guys. They were playing basketball as 11. Like they were getting the check after games, so we were playing
Okay.
professionals. So that was a different type of feel. Um, yeah, it was just a fun experience. And then off like the resort areas and like we seen outside of everything, the poverty and all that, and it just made us like humble, grateful for what we have and stuff like that. So yeah.
I guess I can see that. Like when you go, I mean, that's one thing. Outside of Philly, there is
All right.
plenty of those areas as well, but it's in other countries. It's another whole nother level as well. That is interesting. The second question on our pro advice. Asking athletes on advice from our subscribers here. And the question is, I feel as though my pre-competition routine could be better. So what do you suggest for that time before stepping on the court to make that, to improve the game? Is there anything to better prepare?
Like what do you mean? I'm sorry. Like you talking about routine or like?
Yeah, do you have some players before they step on the court, they have a certain routine. They eat, I don't know, half an hour before the game, you eat a banana, or you give yourself a pep talk, or do you have some of that routine yourself, or how do you go about that?
Yeah, so I have my personal routine and then we have a team routine. So the team routine is you have to show up, let's say the game's at 7, you have to show up 2 hours before, so you have to show up before 5 o'clock.
Okay.
everybody must be in the locker room. And then we have shooting groups. So first group is like guards. Second group is like forwards. And then the third group is like me, Ema, Nick, Sage, those guys. And then we work out in that group. So by the time it's probably like 6 o'clock, then we go back in the locker room. We talk about our offensive principles, our defensive principles, and then we go back out again. And then we stretch with our trainer. And then the bigs as a whole have another like warm-up group while the guards stretch half court. And then we flip-flop. And then about this time, it's probably like 15 minutes on the clock. We come back in the locker room. Coach talks about what needs to be done, what we got to do out the gate. And then we come back out. Then it's layup lines. And then tip-off. My routine is I show up 3 hours before the game. So I show up at 4, sometimes 4:30. I like to get there before everybody else to either get in like the hot tub, get extra stretching. I have this is also part of growing up. Before, I would never eat before a game. I don't know why, because I have terrible stomach problems. So my stomach be hurting if I eat before a game or something like that. But now I realize since I'm playing more and stuff like that, I got to put something in because I will have low energy. So that's another reason why I show up 3 hours before a game. So I will eat like fruit, something really light. And then after that, probably listen to music. I do the breathing exercises again, and then I hop into the team routine. So yeah, it's a lot that goes in before tip off.
That sounds like a lot. I want to tap into one of those. You just said, obviously the breathing and the mental, but then it seemed like you like, hey, music. So if you had a walk-up song, what is that one song that just gets you really hyped that you're like, let's go, I'm ready?
It's called, are you familiar with the artist Lil Baby?
Yes.
He has a song called Money, and that song gets me hyped.
All right. Well, I'll have to check out. I don't have it as in I don't know what exactly you mean right now with this. I'll check it out. I'll link you in. But I do Lil Baby. I know he's been obviously he's doing really well for himself. We do have one of the listeners joining in. Jones Thomas saying for the rule change, advance the ball at timeout, 5 minutes left. What do you think of that rule change?
That's my mom. Shout out to Mom Dukes. What'd she say? I can't scroll up.
Advance the ball at timeout, 5 minutes left.
Yeah, I agree with that. That would be, I mean, if it was our ball, but if it was the opposite team's ball.
You don't want that? That's fair. I mean, that's the thing with rule changes. Is that they always benefit both sides, right? Now, being a fourth year, I know COVID has obviously changed a lot over the last year and a half for anyone who's, I mean, pretty much for everyone, but basketball players, college athletes, you have an additional year now of eligibility?
So I redshirted my freshman year, my true freshman year, due to injuries. So I have an extra year from that. And then on top of that, I have the COVID year. So I have 2 years left.
All right. Are you going to make use of that? And what's next in your, I mean, when we talk about goals, like what is next? Are you, like we just talked about Florida. Florida's pretty nice. The weather is nice. I don't want to say, I don't want you to leave Temple, right? But I'm like, hey, the nation is big. And you said travel is nice. So what's next on your agenda?
Honestly, I've just been so busy, Minutes been ramping up. Senior year, it's anything but easy. There's just a lot going on. I haven't really sat down and, you know, talked about my options. For sure, I'm going to do that with my family probably towards the end of the season. But I haven't really put too much thought to it because, once again, you know, I'm big on anxiety and all that stuff, so I try not, you know. But I will make a decision once I talk to my family, see what's the best route for me to take. So yeah.
Okay. And honestly, I mean, that's one thing, right? It's the last thing that a basketball player right in the season needs is someone asking about what's happening next season. So I apologize, but I had to ask, right? It's like, it's one of the things there. But the beauty is with 2 years of eligibility, there's plenty of options around as well.
This is just, I don't know. It's a conversation I had a lot, you know, and, you know, it's just something I haven't been thinking about. But the more calls I get, the more people I'm talking to, you know, and they're asking me what I'm going to do, it's just like, man, I haven't really put thought into it. So it's just like, you know, let me just take my time with this.
And that's the best, as in get through the season, get ready for graduation,
right.
Make sure you finish your senior year strong and get that degree, and then look what's best for you as the individual, right? There's always the athlete, but the athlete is only one part of who we are, and just only a small part of the person. So that makes a lot of sense. Now, I do want to be cognizant of your time, but those are really awesome insights you provided here. Now, I want to remind our audience of your experience store. Anyone wanting to learn more about you, wanting to engage with you, check out the experience store that you have on the SPRTER app. There's lots of options to engage. Walk Up Song, Little Baby Money. I'll have to check it out. And yeah, we're supporting from the sideline. We're excited to learn and see what the next steps are, and good luck with everything in the rest of the season and the rest of the semester.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining the SPRTER podcast. And I'm a Temple professor, so if I see you on campus, we'll say hi.
Okay, got you.
All right, take it easy.
All
Bye.
right.
Bye.